Hey, how's it going, everybody? I wanted to make a really short video before I go to sleep. And what I wanted to do is I want to get some feedback. So, for those that are new to the channel, feel free to scroll to my channel and go through some of my previous videos that I posted, just in case you may be interested in the subject on a video that I did that you may not be aware that I did. If you're new to the channel, for those that have been watching the channel, thanks for staying supportive and loyal to the channel, even though they know I don't post videos as much as I should. And if you're new, definitely write some subscribe. You gotta hit the bell if you want to know when I'm going to post a new video. Definitely write some comments. It all helps. So, with that being said, I just wanted to get people's opinion. So this is going to be a very short opinion. This is going to be a pretty. It shouldn't be very long. The question is, should you take people's opinion for face value when they're doing certain opinions on gear, whether it's in a studio tour or directly at a piece of gear? The reason why I'm saying that is I'm going to use, for example, I was watching some videos where there would be one person would be doing a studio tour, and they would have the preamp, like my Avalons. I got two Avalon 737s, and I like them. I like them a lot because they sound warm, especially on vocals. And you see that preamp in a lot of recording studios. Yet, I've seen some studio tours where some people say, well, how do you like the Avalons? And say, I'm not really, I'm really not a fan of them or whatever. I'm not really. And then there were some people who say, well, they're pretty clean sounding. They don't really color the sound like maybe a Neve 1073 or whatever. Now, there are some people that will do reviews on, for example, they will like the sound of an API console, and they think it's the best sounding console ever. And then there's some people that like, I prefer Neve, or some people prefer vintage sounding Neves compared to the newer sounding Neves. Some people like the SSLs. Some people like the Tridents. Some people like the MCI, and the list just goes on gear. This includes clones. Clones or replicas are alternatives to buying the expensive unit, right? We all know what a lot of gear, like what Warm Audio and Heritage Audio and companies like that make replicas of sought after gear. Now, the question would be this: do you think that certain gear reviews may be critical? I've seen videos where some people say, well, how do you like the Warm Audio EQ compared to like the real Pultex? And now I've seen people go, they're okay, And other people, there are other videos that absolutely love them. Man, these Warm Audios are amazing. It's the same thing with mic preamps, EQs, compressors, and every other sort of gear. There are some people that are just overly critical on the Warm Audio 1176 replicas, and there are people that love the Warm Audio. And this goes on for Clark Technics and other companies. So my question to you would be this. Do you think, I'm already going to give you my quick opinion on it. Honestly, whenever it boils down to the tracking, the recording, the mixing, the mastering, and then when people listen to the final products that's been recorded in, no matter what the studio, I don't care what it is, and how much of a different sets of pieces of gear that they have. And I use an example. You can have a studio like East West, then you can have Cherokee Studios. These are studios in California, Los Angeles, California area, or the record plant, or so forth. Honestly, the only way that stuff can come back to sound bad coming out of those recording studios is because the engineer and so forth just was, I don't know, something happened in what the engineer was doing. But for the most part, whether it's was tracked on a Neve console in East West or tracked on a Triton console in Cherokee, or tracked on a Triton console in maybe, for example, Treasure Island, Nashville, or tracked on a Neve or an API at Blackbird, or whatever the case, or mixed on an SSL or whatever, mixed in Pro Tools or whatever DAW, use whatever plugins and whatever outboard gear, because no one is ubiquitous when it comes to this. There's always one or two ubiquitous pieces of gear, like the 1176. Most people want the URA or the Universal Audio 1176 and the Teletronics Universal Audio LA2A. Those are probably the two most ubiquitous pieces of gear in recording studios, hands down, that I've seen, other than distressors. Almost every studio seems to have distressors, compressors. But for the most part, all the other racks of gear, when it boils down to, whether you studio monitors, mixing console, your outboard gear, your preamps, and everything else, is just no one has the same amount of gear, including microphones. So, or even microphones that they use in the microphone techniques. Everyone does something a little different, but the results are always the same. The results almost come out good. So, to sum up the video, just get people's personal opinion on this. Do you think that some of these reviews are just, should you take them at face value, or, because I know a lot of us can't afford to just get all this gear that we see, plugins and gear, and buy it and try it and form our own opinions. But a lot of times these reviews help us shape the decision if we're going to try to buy it. So the question would be, should you take some of these people's opinions on gear, whether it's good or bad, pros or cons, should you take it at face value? And I'll end it like this. The reason I'm saying that, there are a lot of people that were saying the Clark Technic stuff was bad. Certain videos, people were saying the Clark Technic was bad, even though I have quite a few pieces of Clark Technic gear, and I absolutely like their gear. Some people would sit there and say, well, if you like their gear, it's because you don't have really good ears to listen to really high quality stuff. And then there are other YouTube pages from other YouTubers that have really nice recording studios that absolutely love Clark Technic stuff and give them high remarks. So is it one person being biased and mean on a piece of gear and the other person love it? It's like, should I trust that person's opinion, or should I trust this other person's opinion? Because some people can say, okay, well, this person hate it, but this person loves it. I go buy it. Either I like I like it too, or I don't like it, even though that person likes it. I boil it down to food. And this is really where it boils down to. It's no different than hot dogs. Some people love relish and mustard and stuff like that on a hot dog. I don't like any of that on my hot dog. I like whether it's chili or ketchup on my hot dogs. That's just me. I don't like mustard on hot dogs. I like ketchup because I don't like the taste of mustard. It's like, excuse me. It's like some people like hot sauce on their food, like their chicken or their fish or whatever. I don't like hot sauce at all. I can't stand the taste of. I don't like hot sauce at all. So, is it because I don't like hot sauce? Am I the strange one? Because I guarantee there's a lot of people that like ketchup on their hot dogs. And some people like ketchup and mustard. So really what it boils down to this gear, including this Behringer, Because there are a lot of people that hate Behringer, and there are people that have absolutely no problem with Behringer gear. Like me, I have absolutely no problem with 90+% of Behringer gear. Absolutely no problem with a lot of their gear. So is it personal opinion? So how do you gauge that? I know it's 10 minutes. I'm going to shorten the video, end the video, because I can turn this into a 30-minute video talking about this subject. Excuse me. So I want to get people's opinion on that. Should you trust people's opinion when making a decision or a review on gear, whether you want to buy it or you've already bought it and you want to listen to people's opinion on it? Because you can buy a piece of gear and people give it bad reviews, but you're like, well, I don't know how to give it a bad review because I like the gear and so forth. So that's going to do for this video. Leave some comments and tell me what you think on this subject. And that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a great one.